This is it's gonna be fucking weird. And here's the problem, right? Here's the problem, the first glance problem. So, white maps, pretty chill, right? Pretty chill. I'll lady for missing. All the numbers are wrong. This should be 68 to 72, 72 to 77, 78 to 84. A lot of the numbers are wrong. Just they'll fix it. So like doing yellow maps in a base league progression scenario, typically it's not too hard. You know, it's not the biggest gap from white maps. The mods get a little bigger. It's a little harder. But it's not the biggest deal. You got to run them rare, but you can just like do no tank mods or no damage mods. But this makes that jump from white maps to yellow maps like actually insane. Like just 60 fucking haste. 60 haste. Like 60 is an absurd number. That's like wandering path haste map on every single map, with them having almost double HP and all this stuff. Like, and we don't have any good builds. There's no good builds that we have for league start, so it's gonna be a slow start. So like farming white maps for a long time is fine, but the thing like farming white maps with only white map atlas points, which is like fucking 30. Actually, it's like 40. How many white maps are there? Like, there's just enough points to like rush essences, and that's like it. That's all you're getting. Know your essence in those mods? Well, if you're just doing white maps, like multi-proj 30%, 30%, that's fine. Like farming T1s with these mods, totally fine. But like farming T1s with 30 points is not fine. You can't just not progress. So like you need to get strong enough to do yellow maps. To be able to get like, I think you can get about 70 points if you do yellow maps and you do all the unique maps of white and yellow. You can get about 70 points. 70 points is enough to be able to do 3 league mechanics typically. So you can set up Essence Expedition and like some harvest with 3 points for getting all of your gear. But like you're gonna have to branch in and like do a couple yellows, which is gonna be fucking scary. Atziri with 760 haste. Yeah, so if you can't tank Wind Slash from Atziri, doing Merkla or Uberlab is like kinda like you're probably gonna die. Like it's so fast. If you can't face this boss, that's terrifying. Even just his default attack with 30% increased damage and 60% speed. Like if you're trying to walk into Uberlab at level 82 when you drop your first offering, you're gonna fucking die. Like you are going to die. So it's probably pretty important to play a character that either can do Uberlab because they have a lot of armor and PDR. Like, let's say you're like a duelist or a marauder and you have 20k armor and like 4 endurance charges. Like you can just face this boss. It's not a problem. But if you can't, it's gonna be hard. But I mean, there's like this isn't a problem. There's all kinds of endgame builds that are still exceptional. The problem is, how do we get there? Not really a secret here. Like Cremation of Exhuming is probably going to be the bossing build of choice for most people. But like it's not playable mapping at all. So like, you got to figure out a character you can play that can do map progression. I mean, you could even go as far as to just accept that you're gonna die. Honestly, that might be an angle. Like for your wait a second. This is a good idea. Bone Shatter Jug, and you don't even you just go through and do progression, and then just make a new character to farm white maps on. This actually might be a thing I do. Sounds like a decent idea. Like you don't full through the maps, you don't open the essences, you have just a fucking rat character, just a trash character. And you just do progression until you die. And you're gonna die. But once you die, you just make a new guy. Because like Bone Shatter Jug doesn't care about multi-proj and all these haste mods. Bone Shatter Jug is gonna have no problem doing white maps and yellow maps. It'll be slow, but it can do it. Red maps should be fine as well. You just take the 10% armor applies to chaos, and like I feel like Bone Shatter Jug, as long as you're not opening essences or doing the thing, can definitely progress really fast. I'm gonna kill Uber Chavs on Bone Shatter. Use Sunder in campaign. You're basically ranged in campaign. Gonna break a lot of people. Oh yeah, I mean 4 proj. You need to be very careful with the maps you run. Yeah, having access to the 10% of armor applies to chaos damage is definitely going to be good here. Although, like, it's only 20% physical is extra. If your chaos is capped, like, it's fine. But normally when doing map progression, I'm not chaos rose capped. Unless I did a lot of foothills farming. I'm not going to be doing a lot of foothills farming in this one. Like, I think the goal here is to not even stop in the campaign. Because this shit's so dangerous. I don't know, man. But yeah, I tested these Atziri apparitions in a Volta map on standard. It's painful. Like on a character with a 75 fire res and suppression, just like a normal witch, just like a super basic. I have suppression, I have res, nothing else. Her flame blast did like 5,000 damage, and the storm calls did like around like it was like 2 to 5k, 2 to 4k. It was a big range, hard to tell how much they do, but it's a lot. And then when I went on like a lore weave ED champion, like an SRS champion, with suppression cap, lore weave ED, the normal setup, they were doing like 35% of my life roughly, maybe 40%, in zone level 84 without a damage mod. So 85 plus damage mod means like a lore weave ED champion is going to be taking like 80% of its life from a flame blast. Yeah. I mean, like, you can practice all of this, and, like, if Atziri wasn't here, I would say this gauntlet would 100% be cleared. Or, like, 99%, because of all release feared. Like, all release feared with these mods is pretty hard. That's always kind of a wild card. But just the Ubers with these mods, without Atziri, 100% cleared. Because, like, I mean, what even is that different from last gauntlet? Like, I think last gauntlet was, like, 40% increased damage instead of 80. But, like, that doesn't really matter. And I think they're a little bit tankier. It was 50. Yeah, like, last gauntlet was 35% less, 50% increased. So it's, like, a little harder, but, like, that doesn't really matter that much. The Atziri is, like, an insane wild card that can just do all kinds of fucked things. Like, Atziri could just start spawning storm calls, and then you're avoiding the storm calls, you're standing in the right spot, you're chilling, and then Cyrus ports you into the middle of his arena for a maze. And now you're in 2 storm calls. Hopefully, that's fine. You know? Hopefully that's fine. You only have 3 portals, so you can't log out of bullshit overlaps very often. Yeah, like, dodging Uber X-Arc, and then there's just fucking storm calls that are happening too. Although, it's not as big of a deal on X-Arc. Because the thing with Atziri is, none of her abilities should one-shot you, or like your character's dog shit. And on X-Arc, you're already full spending life bots. So like if one storm call ticks you, you're going to be full HP instantly anyways. Atziri and Eater intermission phase. Bro, there's so many mechanics where it's like, it's going to be stupid because of the Atziri. But like if the Atziri wasn't there, it'd be like free. And one thing Atziri doesn't have is pen on any of the abilities that she uses. Basically what I'm saying is, Chieftain, 90 res, suppression cap, Chieftain dead in yellow map. You play Jug Bone Zone to start, and we go Chieftain for bossing. Cremation of Exhuming Chieftain. I feel like this is going to be the hardest mapping's ever been. Even though, like, 317, we had 100% monster damage, and 40% haste, and GMP. But the life mod was unique monster life. Like, 100% damage and 40% haste, obviously bigger numbers than 40% increased damage and 20% haste. But the builds we had back then were so much better. Like, we were unnerfed Defiance Banner, 25k armor, 20k evasion, witches with 6k life, 1k ES, and ghost shrouds. And like 50-50 block and spell block. Like, if you were a coward, you know, if you're using Fletch Offering, it was 25-25. And you're playing Detonate Dead, a build that had exceptional upfront damage for instantly killing the pack and making you safe. Now, we're going to be playing dog shit. So it's like, and we have Archnem. Like 317 was pre-Archnem. So like the monsters themselves were just easier to kill. This is less difficult like mods, but like Archnem is in the game now, and our character sucks. I'm pretty sure Alkaiser's winning this gauntlet. I'm gonna call it now. If I have to play Bone Shatter, I am not gonna have a good time. An EOP broken tech. I think the best bossing tech is just gonna be Cremation probably. Cremation of Exhuming is basically detonate of chaining. You press Cremation, press Arcanist Brand Desecrate on the boss, and then you walk in a circle for 10 seconds, and it can do like probably 10 DPS pretty easily on like Pathfinder or Champion or whatever class. Are there that many free Mageblood Valdos? Because like the way that Valdo works is like the mods that make it harder make it more common. So like if you have to do Feared with these mods, I guess if it's a good tile set, you could do it. But I mean, I definitely agree. Like someone in the Gauntlet is going to get a Mageblood from a free Valdos. I don't think farming magic finding with the hope of pulling a free Mageblood from a Valdo box is probably something you could do. If these multi-project mods worked on Abyss, it'd be much, much easier to do that, but they don't. Presumably, they don't. Because they're private league mods. Like, the amount of bullshit rips we're going to see in yellow maps is going to be hilarious. Like, you walk into yellow maps with like a 5.5k life Templar. You know how fast Roas move? With haste, because like shield charge scales with move speed and attack speed. These things are going to be like blinking across your screen. But yeah, I mean, for early campaign when you have no resist, the pen isn't that important in early campaign. But like by the time you're like expected to be res capped, like Act 3, Act 4, this is like 80% monster damage campaign with 30 haste, and like it's gonna be. Before maps? Yeah, doing it before, like, I think doing anything pre-maps is kind of bad. Like, normally what we do is we farm, like, Foothills, or you farm Betrayal in Act 9 or 10 to get Chaos Res gear before you enter maps. But, like, farming Betrayal with these fucking mods, if you're not, like, a Juggernaut, or the better Ascendancy that isn't banned for some reason, Slayer, like, you're just gonna die. Like, Tora's gonna look at you and kill you. Jorgen would actually backhand you out of this universe. TR Champ for progression. So the problem with TR Champ for progression is the way you farm Porcupine and Lightning Coil is by not completing like any T4, or I guess you don't need Coil on Champ, you only need Porcupine. But like the way you farm that is by not completing any T4 map except for Courtyard. Might be a T5, not sure. Which means that's -7 Atlas points. And you don't have very many Atlas points when you're not like, you know, going past it to like yellow maps, red maps, and then backtracking, because like doing that's fucking scary. I think the Bone Shatter Jug first character progress Atlas into make a new character is like probably what I'm gonna do. The more I think about it, the more I'm pretty sure it's the best choice. Like Loreweave Damnation Champ is like the floor of defense. If you have anything less than that, you are fucked. Like you are completely fucked. You're gonna get one shot. Like it's so much damage. And Defiance is good at making it so you don't die to a lot of like medium hits. Divine Flesh, maybe. So the problem with Zabakwa, when you put in the uber-sized hits into Pob, you need a substantial amount of armor to actually be getting meaningful DR on the Chaos portion, and it prevents you from fully benefiting from resist flasks. Like the part that you're converting to Chaos, you know, doesn't help with this flask anymore. In a lot of cases, if you're playing low armor, like 20-30k armor, like it's not really much of a defense increase versus the biggest of biggest hits. And Atziri Flameless is really fucking hard. Like, it is really hard. If you can't tank an Atziri Flame Blast, you're never killing Exarch. Because that means Exarch Balls one-shot you. Because Exarch Balls do about the same damage, but they don't have the spell tag, and they can't be suppressed. So they do double damage. Like playing something that isn't like Champ, Jug, Pathfinder is going to be very challenging. This one is going to be challenging.